Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. And our topic of discussion is, I didn't expect our marriage to be like this. Welcome back. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. Now, this topic is very interesting. I didn't expect our marriage to be like this. And you want to know something? That's universally true. But if this is what's on your mind right now, it means that although this is universally true, it's kind of a negative. There are some people who go, wow, I didn't expect our marriage to be like this. This is amazing. But rarely. And the reason why is really simple. Now, I want to explain something to you before we get going, and that is that there are different methods, different approaches to marriage. Ours is very non-traditional. Traditional means that it's either from a Western psychological perspective, or it's from a church or synagogue or mosque perspective. I don't know how you actually say that, but in other words, a religious perspective. Those are traditional approaches to marriage. Our approach is very different because in 2001, I was a divorce mediator. It was the last thing in my mind to help somebody with their marriage. I was helping people get a divorce, prepare their documents, distribute the kids, distribute assets. I'd go to the court and plead their case before the judge. And I believed in divorce. I felt, well, if you can't get along with somebody, you try to part amicably, but you part. And then a couple in 2001 asked me to help them save their marriage. They said, we don't really want to get a divorce, and you're a communications expert, so can you help us? And I was touched, and I immediately said, yes, I will try. Give me a few months to talk to my friends, the psychologists, the Western couples counseling experts, and do some research, and then we'll meet and we'll try and rebuild your marriage somehow. So I had time to really think about this now because no one ever asked me to help them save their marriage before. And so I thought, okay, I knew and know that couples counseling doesn't really work, even though it's traditional and it's what most people go to. It's their first place they go when they're having marriage problems, after you read some books or maybe read articles or watch YouTube videos. They think, okay, got to get a marriage counselor, got to do couples counseling. Unfortunately, as much as I love Western psychologists because they get into it to help people, I found out that they're mistrained. The truth of the matter is they don't really understand marriage, and neither did I. And it took a while to get it. So I had to begin with a question. And that question is, why do you get married? Because, and this is pertinent to this discussion, the reason we get married, not only that we fell in love with our spouse, but we had an expectation of happiness. We're going to live together happily ever after. That's our expectation. Unfortunately, as reasonable and logical as it sounds, nobody ever says, and therefore, we must do this, this, and this in order for happiness to be achieved. It doesn't just come our way, does it? The world is filled with trials, and we have to face these challenges head on. And when we conquer the challenges, we're happier. But the truth is, we don't even think in those terms. So talk about opening a can of worms when I realized, wow, we get married to be happy, but we don't have a roadmap for happiness. So thank God I gave myself time to work with this couple. But before that, I gave myself time to do a quick study. And for the sake of being there for them right away, I boiled marriage down to two choices. I said, okay, look, here's what's going to happen. Every time you're about to open your mouth, every time you're about to make a decision, don't. Stop and ask yourself, is what I am about to say going to contribute in a positive way to our relationship? Is it going to undermine the happiness in our relationship? And I called it beneficial and detrimental. Those are your two options. So simple, isn't it? And we went very far with that, this couple and I, and we really only had to meet a few times. Now, challenges came out of that is like, yeah, but what if I'm filled with anger and like this, and why do they behave this way, and why do I think this way and she thinks that way, or vice versa? And frankly, it was like, okay, we have a lot of work to do, Paul. And we got down to it. And I started working with people. I started developing a context. And I realized, and this is not to say that anyone is wrong or bad, because everyone is always doing the best they can. But, I talked about traditional being from a Western psychological perspective. Traditional is also from a church perspective, scriptural perspective. It doesn't matter what church you belong to. I have found that all scripture are based on universal truths, aren't they? I mean, you think about it. Every scripture basically is driving us to the same place, a union with the perfection of God. Not to be religious, but that's what they're there for. And their interpretation of how to live that way in marriage is actually pretty good. And I do have to say it's better than the Western psychological approach, which is let's find our mistakes and find out why we're such idiots and like that. The truth of the matter is that both of those traditional methods of approaching marriage don't really get you where you want to go. And so let's take this opportunity of I didn't expect this, and let's turn it into and therefore I will do these things so that my expectations align with what I'm going to now do. Now, I've written a couple of books. They illustrate a lot of what I discovered. And after it took a while, 8 or 9 years of working with couples and primarily individuals, we came online. We have a website, and on the website, we offer for men or for women an individual online course that unfolds marriage right before your eyes, unfolds what your spouse is all about, unfolds what you are all about, because we don't really know ourselves very well, objectively, and it's important to know. And how we should evolve into a place of expecting an amazing marriage, because what we're doing will create the dynamics for an amazing marriage. What does an amazing marriage look like? An amazing marriage means that you're never getting angry, you're never getting frustrated, It means that you're seeing your spouse through eyes of admiration and love, the way you did when you first met each other. An amazing marriage means there's so much unity and harmony that you're floating like a cloud in the sky. And this is the best part. You're so happy. The truth of the matter is that there is a happiness and inner happiness within, and we do have to find that. And we can't expect our spouse, going back to expectations, we can't expect our spouse to make us happy. But we can expect ourselves to do everything we can to make our spouse happy. I'm going to give you a little bonus here, okay? Now, this is really well done in the course, but I'm going to explain to you about love, because isn't that the basis of marriage anyway? And we're not taught this. Everyone says to love your enemy as yourself. It's scriptural. And it's kind of above our heads. We don't really understand that. But we do love our children unconditionally. And now I'm going to share with you that you have the ability to cultivate the love for your spouse, which means you can increase the love you feel for your spouse to levels that you never even imagined and never felt before. You have that power to cultivate love. Where have you ever heard that before? And this was part of what I discovered. Because if you don't cultivate that love, what happens is all the day-to-day stuff comes into your life and it distracts you from the most important things of your life, which are your husband or wife, your children, your peace, your harmony, and it brings you back to what's real, to what's real. You know, you've heard many times how people on their deathbed, even Steve Jobs, he said, man, I really missed the boat. Steve Jobs. You know, when we look at Steve Jobs' life, what he accomplished, most people don't think he missed the boat, but he did. Because he was so focused on his work. It doesn't matter how much he made. When he died penniless. But had he been cultivating that love and sharing that love with his spouse, and he didn't have a spouse, I don't think, when he finally passed away, he would have passed away floating in air. Here's the thing. You can expect your marriage to produce amazing results when you know how. Now, we have some free things, and I urge you to take advantage of that. There's links below. For instance, if you have a question for one of our marriage counselors who are steeped in these teachings, it's free. You could write to them. If you have a question for me, you could put it in the comments section, and I'll respond to you. And in the comments section, let me know what you think of this. We also have links to our books, the 3-day free trial for the marriage course, either for men or for women. We also have a free course that takes 10 days. It comes in 3 parts, and it also includes some special offers. We have a lot to offer you. Why? I'm way past my retirement years, but I want to be of service to you. I found these truths. They will eventually take over the world. I'm not a genius by any means, but I did the work, and eventually the world will catch up to what I discovered. But right now it's here for you, and I want you to have it. I'm glad you stopped by, And, if you like this video, you could leave a like. If you want to subscribe, you can. I don't push people with that, but it's there for you. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. God bless you and take care. Thank you.